On the 22nd, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, including the US and the European Union, announced a series of sanctions against China, along with condemning China's violation of Uyghur human rights. And 4 days later, China moved. The one sentence that China uttered in its press conference made it clear an imminent war against the US and the EU are forcible. In the previous press conference, China Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hu Cheng said on the 26th, "Don't say you haven't been forewarned." The phrase "don't say you haven't been forewarned" was the phrase first used by the CCP media on People's Daily on September 20, 1962, just before China started a war with India over border conflict. And this is the phrase China used in the 2021 against the United States and the European Union, which condemned the suppression of human rights for minorities of the Xinjiang Uyghur people. However, there is a bigger problem behind it. Because this praise didn't come from the CCP-run media, such as the Global Times, where they used to speak exaggerated expressions. But this praise was reproduced by the spokeswoman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry officially, and that's why this was a serious problem. On the 26th at the conference, Hu Cheng said like this: "The Xinjiang issue is not about the people, religion, and human rights. It is about the division, counterterrorism, and intervention. And the reason the US keeps bringing up the Xinjiang problems is not because it is interested in the Uyghurs, but for destroying China's stability and preventing its growth. Today's China is fair and confident, and the truth about malicious lies and rumors against China will be revealed. Don't say you haven't been forewarned." Along with the warning to the world, China made a move. On the 26th, when China made its biggest diplomatic threat to the world by "don't say you haven't been forewarned," China imposed the sanction on 9 people, including Tom Tugendhat, chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs of UK, by letting freeze assets in China. And 7 out of incumbent members of the UK Senate and House of Representatives were particularly affected. These lawmakers have received sanctions from China for formally criticizing China by submitting bills relating to the Xinjiang Uyghurs, reports and media interviews to the National Assembly. In addition, the China Research Group, a research group made of conservative lawmakers, and the Conservative Human Rights Commission of the UK have been sanctioned. Also, when the EU subsequently sanctioned 4 Chinese officials on the 22nd, 10 incumbent EU lawmakers and scientists were sanctioned by China in return. On January 21st, shortly after the inauguration of the Biden administration in the US, China sanctioned 28 US politicians who were recognized as Trump's people, including former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. So the number of Western officials sanctioned by the Chinese government rose to 47 in the first 3 months of 2021. In addition to such diplomatic provocations, China also held its largest military demonstration against Taiwan. On the same day, March 26, when China officially threatened the US and Western countries, China held a military demonstration by sending Chinese military planes to the Taiwan Air Defense Identification Zone. The Taiwanese Defense Ministry announced that a total of 20 Chinese military aircraft have entered the China's air defense zone without permission. The number of military aircraft entering Taiwan's ADIZ was the highest recorded since the Taiwanese Defense Ministry announced the flight status of Chinese military aircraft on a daily basis last year. Chinese military planes flying to the Taiwan's ADIZ posed a threat to Taiwan with surrounding southern Taiwan. But they did not cross the midline of the Taiwan Strait, which is considered as the actual border between China and Taiwan. However, China didn't stop. Together with this military threat to Taiwan, China tried to conquer the Wilson Reef in the South China Sea, a disputed area. Because the Wilson Reef is located in the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines was urgently calling for the withdrawal of Chinese ships, and Vietnam, which also claims sovereignty in this area, was calling for withdrawal too. But China only reacted to this by stationing more troops near the Wilson Reef. The photos taken by satellite on March 23rd clearly show that these Chinese ships were lined up and formed in a row. It is also observed that ships of similar colors are anchored together as if drawing a line. Also, on March 26, the US-based technology company Similarity said that images of what are believed to be Chinese ships had arrived at the Wilson Reef. Wilson Reef is a strategically important spot on the northeastern extreme border of Union Bank's Spratly Island of the West Philippine Sea. For this reason, China uses a lot of military means and moves sometimes ruthlessly, as a Wilson Reef could be a new base for observation centers and as a strategic use of the entire South China Sea. Anyway, China was baffled by the massive attacks from the US, EU, and its allies and questioning about Xinjiang Uyghurs. So we can see the current situation like this. The official threats of a declaration of war by the Chinese Foreign Ministry reflect China's strong conviction that it will no longer accept interference in internal affairs by other countries, and that it will no longer hold back if such interference will happen again. Of course, what Chinese Foreign Ministry said, "Don't say you haven't been forewarned," doesn't necessarily mean that there will be an actual war. Because on last October, the Chinese Foreign Ministry also warned Taiwan with the same praise when Taiwan was importing advanced weapons from the US. Taiwan's import of advanced weapons from the US would have been very unpleasant for China. Likewise, this time around, it appears that the Chinese government officially used strong expressions, as several Western countries, including the US, had crossed the red line set by China. Thus, sooner or later, another conflict between China and Western countries could arise. Nikkei, Japan economic newspaper, reported on the 27th that skepticism and pessimism in the US and Western countries about China are much stronger than optimism. Some people believe China can be improved a little, not entirely, so they call it as a skepticism. On the other hand, the pessimism means that it is impossible to work with Western countries in a free trade system while Communist Party is in China. And Nikkei concluded that if China does not improve on controversial human rights issues and continues to engage in provocative actions in South China Sea, it can ultimately lead to pessimism through skepticism. Nikkei also said that China was persistent on human rights and Taiwan issue in the talks at Alaska on the 19th. But has announced that it will work with the US on climate change issues, North Korea, Iran, and Afghanistan. However, Nikkei analyzed that China's strategy is more a time-delayed strategy for overcoming the crisis in China, at least for now. Like this analysis, US media Foreign Policy reported on March 11th. It is difficult for the US and China under the leadership of the Communist Party to coexist. The sharp conflict between the US and China will continue into the future. In particular, Jack Cooper from the American Enterprise Research Institute analyzed the situation like this. 5 years ago, a lot of people thought China could change, but now most people are skeptical about it. The previous US-China talks in Alaska have shown that the chances of a win-win relationship between the two countries are very slim. Plan B should be a backup to prepare for the failure of the peace and coexistence path with China. Many Western countries, including the US, continue to urge China to clarify its controversial human rights issues. What choice do you think China will make in the current situation? Thanks for watching, comments, likes, and sharing. Be safe.